contain the pattern of transitional forms predicted by Darwin. So by denying the existence of a creator who has to be a being with a conscious mind and all the power to implement his decisions, the scientists try to replace him with formless ideas like evolution. This idea of evolution finds no support in either the fossil evidence or biological evidence. Islam regards the idea of life with no creator, idolatry, and answers these scientists in the following verse, a very interesting verse. Chapter 7, verse 196. Have they feet wherewith they walk? Or have they hands wherewith they hold? Or have they eyes wherewith they see? Or have they ears wherewith they hear? Say, call upon the partners you associate with God, then contrive ye all against me, and give me no time. And give me no time is the key to this verse. Formless ideas can have as much time as they want. And when Darwin made his theory of evolution, they thought at that time the universe did not have a beginning or an end. It had existed forever. So formless ideas like evolution can have as much time as they may, but God with his creative faculties can create in practically no time, as the fossil evidence has clearly shown us. So for decades, scientists have been collecting evidence that contradicts both Darwin's theory and the grand materialistic gloss that usually accompanies it. Many physicists and cosmologists now recognize that the universe had a beginning and that many physical laws look suspiciously fine-tuned for the existence of intelligent life. In addition, biochemists and biologists have discovered a microscopic world of unbelievable complexity belaying the simple blobs of protoplasm that Darwin was able to observe. Now, moreover, now we know that the DNA molecule inside of every cell is contains an information-rich language. Inside every human cell, inside every living cell, sits a tiny encoded DNA molecule, 0.005 of a millimeter in diameter, which, if unfolded or stretched out, would be 1 meter long. Even Bill Gates has observed, DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software we've ever created. So this new evidence regarding the information found in DNA needs a new explanation. So perhaps one of the most serious challenges to evolutionary theory comes from the arena of information theory. Scientists are beginning to see life as an information-based process in which the DNA contained within each cell is based on a genetic language. DNA has a language embedded within it, with more information that will be contained in a library of 1,000 volumes or books. Now, the amount of information is not the total information of the entire organism. There is much more information than this inside the cell. Thank you. Therefore, any explanation of life must explain the origin of the information contained in the DNA. The genetic code is just a sequence of letters which carries inherent meaning and information distinct from the physical properties of its molecules, and every one of us has a distinct genetic code. The presence of non-material information not only implies a superphysical realm, but also a superphysical intelligence. Without this superphysical intelligence, the information in the code would have no meaning, no context, and would not exist. The very existence of the code within our DNA can only be explained through a pre-existing intelligence who put it there. Information does just not happen. It doesn't happen by chance, not by random processes, and it could not conceivably arise from purely random physical interactions or evolution. Again, we read the same verses from the Quran that were recited at the beginning of this session. Blessed is he in whose hand is the kingdom, and he has power over all things. It is he who has created death and life that he may try you. Which of you is best in deeds? And he is the mighty, the most forgiving. The same who created 7 heavens in stages, No incongruity can you see in the creation of the gracious God. Then look again. Do you see any flaw? And look again. And don't only look at the heavens, look into the tiny cells that make up your body. And look further into those cells. And look deeper and deeper. It doesn't matter where you look. You will find such evidence and intelligence of Allah that cannot be denied. In fact, recently they're looking at the DNA code. There were sections of the DNA code that they didn't think belonged anywhere. They're kind of like little side branches that went here and there, but they were still coded. They find out recently those are very important side branches and have to be there for the genetic code to be successful. And look again and again, your sight will only return to you tired and fatigued. The Holy Quran, chapter 67, verses 2 to 5. Again, quoting Charles Darwin, if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. Well, Mr. Darwin, meet Mr. Michael Bay, a biochemical researcher and professor at Lahaye University in Pennsylvania. Michael Bay claims to have shown exactly what Darwin claimed would destroy his theory of evolution through a concept he calls irreducible complexity. In simple terms, this idea applies to any system of interacting parts in which the removal of one part destroys the function of the entire system. An irreducibly complex system, then, requires each and every component to be in place before it can function. And what does he use as an example? A simple mousetrap. It contains 5 interdependent parts, which allow it to catch mice: the wooden platform, the spring, the hammer, the holding bar, and the catch. Each of these components is absolutely essential for the function of the mousetrap. They must all be there at the same time for the mousetrap to function. Because I gave all the boys in Sunday school each a mousetrap with one piece functioning and told them to set the mousetrap. Obviously, nobody could set the mousetrap. Now, applying this to biological structures, although the tiniest bacteria cells are incredibly small, each is in effect a veritable micro-miniaturized factory containing thousands of exquisitely designed pieces of integrant molecular machinery made up altogether of 100,000 million atoms, far more complicated than any machine man has ever built, and absolutely without parallel in the non-living world. In a word, the simplest bacteria cell is complicated. It is very, very complicated. The complicated biological structures in a cell exhibit the same irreducible complexity that we see in the mousetrap. In other words, they are all or nothing. Either everything is there and they work, or something is missing and they don't. There's no in between. Now remember, Darwin's mechanism is one of gradual mutations leading to improved fitness and survival. As we've seen with the example of the mousetrap, a less than complete system of this nature simply will not function. And it certainly won't help the organism to survive, let alone advance. Indeed, having a half-formed and hence non-functional system would actually hinder survival, and we'd be selected against it. So that, we move on to the origin of life. Again, I read from the same verses from the Holy Quran. Who has created 7 heavens in stages? No incongruity can you see in the creation of the gracious God. Then look again. Do you see any flaw? I look again, and yet again. Your sight will only return to you tired and fatigued, having seen no flaw or incongruity. This vision of creation by the Holy Quran leaves no room for an ungoverned and unguided course of evolution. In fact, the entire scheme of things, both biotic and prebiotic, is sketched out by the Holy Quran as a coherent plan of order, completely devoid of chaos. Now, the origin of life is best described as the chemical and physical processes that brought into existence the first self-replicating molecule. Origin of life theories cannot